Hello, beautiful people. How you doing? And how you doing? First and foremost, welcome, big fat welcome to the first ever Love Naturally podcast series, okay? Yeah. The first ever Love Naturally podcast series. I'm so excited. This has been something I've been wanting to do for a minute, so I'm happy to be able to create this creative space for me, which in return I hope to give really fruitful gems and knowledge and just bestow some blessings on you with my words and wisdom. Okay, so with that said, thank you so much for being here, for sharing this first ever journey with me as I expand my wings as a self-made Black business woman, owner. I don't really cling to titles, but if you had to categorize it, I guess that's where I would fit. And a little bit about my journey. It's been quite an interesting one. I've recently left my dedication to corporate America with earning about just shy of 15 years of training and learning and developing and facilitating for adult employees at various companies. So this transition, I guess, I've recently joined what some would say the Great Resignation. And may that be as it is, this has been quite an empowering journey for me. And one of the reasons why I've been so inspired to create this platform is because I want to empower those of you who are wondering, or how I like to say, you're playing with yourself when you could be playing with yourself. And let that mean whatever it means. But what I mean by that is, are you living to your fullness and to your maximum? Or are you just playing with your abilities, playing with what you could be doing, who you could be doing, or what you could be receiving and allowing yourself to receive? So, with that said, this is a shared journey that we're going to take. Each episode will focus on a topic where I feel that's been coming up a lot in my readings. By the way, I am a tarot reader. I focus on shadow work. So I hope you get to the nucleus. We go down to the atom, to the core of it all. I can help with more surface questions, but I'm a shadow light worker, priestess. So I go into the shadow realm to help you shine light, to bring you back into your divine balance. So if you're interested in getting a reading, or even just doing a complimentary 15-minute consultation, head over to my website, www.lovenaturally, and naturally is spelled NATURALE.com/book me. That's B as in boy, OOKME. So again, that's www.lovenaturally with 2 E's at the end of natural.com/book me. And you can either get your complimentary call, you can send me an email as well to schedule your complimentary 15-minute consultation. And during those consultations, we dive into what is your focus, if it's business, if it's love, if it's a transition that you're making and you just are looking for clarity and how you can move forward. We can talk about rituals, spells, or just mental reprogramming that you may need to do. Okay? So with all of that kind of soft core marketing aside, let's get into the juicy stuff. Now, my long-term vision, I want to say, is I would love to have those of you who are willing to put yourself out there, and of course you can do so anonymously as well, but to submit in your questions or submit in topics you'd like for me to discuss. Now, these topics can be on a range of things, but let me just let you know what I don't specialize in. I am here to support and encourage and develop you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not going to suggest what you should be eating. There are some elixirs and herbs I can always recommend, but I'm not a health nut. I'm not really someone who, like I said earlier, clings to titles. I create an open space for everybody as long as you come in peace, or you might leave in pieces. So with that said, if you have questions on your relationships or your finances and ways for you to get into spiritual or do spell work to help you get into a tune with your finances, I can help with that. But I'm not a financial expert. I'm not a mental health practitioner licensed, not yet, in pursuit of that. Nor am I a legal attorney. So I do need to add in that disclaimer. And I am not a medical healthcare practitioner. Mental health care practitioner is in pursuit, but not medical health care practitioner. Although I do have a doctor on hand and on demand, on call, really, whenever there is a question that may need some type of validation on the more professional and certified end. Okay? So, with all of that said, please feel encouraged to send in your questions. You can forward them over to www.lovenaturally.com and then go over to the contact me page, or you can email me at IamLoveNaturally, again that's E, @gmail.com, or contact me at lovenaturally.com. Okay, so I promise that these intros will not be nearly as long, and I appreciate you for taking the time to listen to this little early bit. But let me help you set the tone with Love Naturally this week. That's what we're going to do. We're going to set the tone. And today's topic is something that I've been seeing come up a lot in my readings lately, and especially for the ladies. And especially for ladies when it comes to us making decisions about our relationships, when it comes to leaving one and ignoring red flags, and also when it comes to running a business. And this topic is how to build unshakable self-belief. How to develop unshakable self-belief. So regarding self-belief, and really self-belief has a multitude of meanings. If you go right now and you look up right on your phone, if you're listening by your phone or on a computer, however you're listening, and you go and you look up the meaning of self-belief, it's going to give you a lot of definitions that relate to having confidence, being confident in yourself, confident in a decision, confident in your characteristics, confident in your traits. But to me, that's really not defining what self-belief is. That's just having confidence, which is different. And one of the things that we have to start to look at when we wonder what our own self-belief is what or how do you define self-belief? And what beliefs of self have you decided to allow to define you? Let's run it back. What is your definition of self-belief? And what belief systems, patterns, thought processes have you adopted about yourself? And whom or who have you adopted those thought processes from? That is true self-belief when you approach it from the shadow realm. They call this doing shadow work. A lot of times, those of you who've been to therapy, and I commend those of you who are taking the steps forward for your bloodline to see therapists, to get the mental help, the emotional support that you don't know where to find or don't know how to find maybe in your more intimate circles amongst your relationships with loved ones, family, friends, etc. So I commend you, especially to my Black people. I've been hearing so many of us sisters going to therapy, and I'm so proud of us for putting our hearts first. Because when the love is flowing in from the mother, it is infectious. And when there's the love that's pinched off from the mother, it is toxic to a household and all that produce or is produced from that home. Sad but true. However, this is why it's important to know what self-beliefs you've adopted about yourself. And here's how you can start to do that and start to learn how to do that. The first thing that you want to look at is your childhood. What things did you see growing up happening in the house? What were the patterns that you saw? If you were a male, how did you see the men treated in your home? How did you see the men in your home behave? Were they aggressive alphas? Were they passive betas? Were they absentee? Were they very involved in loving? Did they teach you a lot? Did they reprimand you? Did they coach you? Did they ignore you? Did they put you down? Did they abuse you? As well as looking at the women in our homes. And just switching perspectives real quick to the young ladies growing up, because usually what we see, monkey do, no disrespect, it's a saying, it's an expression, but monkey see, monkey do. When the male sees a male behave in a way, that male is going to pick up those patterns. Usually, not every time, but usually. And when a female sees patterns of her mother, she tends to pick up those behaviors. Or, you can go the opposite way, completely running from that which you hate. But there's never really any escaping it. Gotta face it. But if the female, for the daughters who've grown up, those of you who've had a mother figure in your life, what did you see growing up? How did she run her household? Did she keep it clean? Was she a working mother? Was she present and active in your life? Did she teach you how to care for your menstrual? Did she teach you how to care for yourself? Was she giving to others and not to herself? Or was she maybe full of herself and narcissistic? Did she maybe send jealous signals your way and envy you for things that you couldn't understand at that age, at least? So what shadow and light, right? Because we have all good and bad for those of us who've been exposed. And this is not just if your mom, your dad, if you did not have a mother or father figure, if you grew up in foster care, or if you may have grown up in a household setting that didn't have a traditional family structure. Who was your mother or father figure? Whether it was someone on television, someone in a neighborhood, a big brother who took on a role as a father, an aunt that took on the role as your mother. Whatever your story is, who do you identify? And perhaps if you don't have one, that can be the first place that you start. After looking at your childhood, another perception that we create, or I'll say morphed perception that we create about ourselves, is also within, I should say, your work environments. The type of employment that you pick up and the way that your superiors speak to you, manage your productivity, deliver feedback, the way that they encourage you, the way they discourage you, the way your colleagues speak to you, the way the corporate, or if you're not in corporate, I'll say the company owners manage, the way that the managers manage. All of those things contribute to your self-value, which is not self-belief. And it can be a job that pays minimum wage, or it can be a job that pays top dollar. Shitty managers exist on all levels. Trust me. So, how you are treated at work, because if you think about it, you have a full-time job or part-time or however many hours, but a lot of us spend most of our time at work or working, and that is mental conditioning. If what you put your energy towards is what is going to boomerang back at you, it is the law of reciprocity. So however you are conditioned at that job, if you're motivated and encouraged, chances are you'll climb the ranks and even leave the company. But if you are demotivated or discouraged, chances are you won't see the value unless you knock yourself on the head knock yourself over the head to move forward. The last place before we move on that you'll see how well you've been affected by adopted self-beliefs outside of childhood and outside of work and employment is going to be your relationships, your friendships, your relationships with close family members or friends that you consider family, but most importantly, your romantic and sexual relationships. While sex can be treated very casually for a lot of people, there is an energetic exchange that, whether you want to agree to it or not, or submit to it, because it does exist, whether you agree or not, you have an influence tied to each person. So, how you are treated during, or how you treat your partner or partners during physical intercourse, and how you are expressing yourself in your romantic relationships, or lack thereof expressing yourself, also is a conditioning on your self-belief. Another thing is what your partner tells you about yourself. We usually trust those who are closest to us in our circle. Those are closest to you in your circle is usually going to be your lover, your husband, your wife, your long-term partner, your boo thing. And with that, what they say sometimes can really resonate. We might think we can just shuck it off, but this is the person that we lay our heads with. So what they say, it kind of runs deep. So how do you learn to separate out what you've adopted, what you've picked up over the years from those different areas in your life, into how well you actually know yourself? Because you might be saying, well, yeah, I know that my parents have done this and I do this now. Or I know that my partner used to tell me this all the time, so I try not to do that anymore. But all of that is cause and effect. The cause being someone saying something to you about what they believe that you should or shouldn't do. And then the effect is you altering or adjusting to accommodate that. So the key is to begin to filter out all those cobwebs of everyone else's fingers pointing, opinion giving, and suggestion ass having, to start to see who you really are and how well you know yourself. And I want you to get something to write with. If you're on your phone, pull up the notes section in your phone. If you don't have that, I want you to write something, pause, but make sure you come back, okay? And I want you to write down the next few categories, because I will be giving homework assignments, journal prompts. I want this to be an interactive learning experience for your development. I don't want you to just listen to me just to listen. You can listen to some good music for that matter. I want you to really leave with something more than what you came in with. So let's continue. So what I want you to write down is the next few categories, because I want you to think about how well you know yourself in regards to each category. And we can give this like a ranking, like a scale. So we'll say 1 to 5. 1 being like, I don't know what I consider in that category about what my beliefs are. And 5 will being, I have very firm self-beliefs in this. I feel very connected to myself in this way. Okay? All right. So 1 the lowest, 5 the highest. 1 to 5. Category number 1 is mentally. We're going to start with the mental. How well do you know yourself mentally? What are your mental thought patterns? What is your mental health history, your mental health family history? Do you have members around you, in your friend circles, work circles? Because work circles are, again, if you're a full-time employee, chances are you're spending a lot of time with those that you work with. And I've met a few people who I think may have needed to get additional support while in the work environment, okay? That's me putting it nicely. So with that said, how are your mental patterns? Do you have good mental discipline? Are you mentally aware of how you manage yourself overall, your finances, your promises that you give to others? And outside of your mental evaluation and how well you know yourself mentally and the things that you may or may not have not considered, I want you to also look at any type of traumas that may have affected you mentally. Okay? Things that may have produced an OCD or a neurosis or anxieties. All right? And some of this may be triggering, so do this with caution. Go slow. Don't race through this. All right? Let it be an easy process. Another thing I want you to look at, your next category number 2, is going to be emotionally. How well do you know yourself emotionally? Do you know what your emotional triggers are in your romantic and sexual relationships? Do you know what your emotional triggers are in your families? Is there something that your sister or your brother or your cousin or your aunt or your grandma or your uncle can always say that just takes you over the line? How well do you respond when you see arguments happening within your family? And how do you respond in arguments? Emotional awareness is very vast, just like mental awareness, and really all of these categories. But I want you to just leave it there for now, because as the series progresses, we will dive deeper into other categories relating to emotional intelligence, awareness, and management. Category number 3 is physical awareness. How well do you know yourself physically? Could you do a split when you were maybe in 12th grade, and now can you still do that split? And you think like, yeah, I can still do that split. Like, I can still do that split. And you get down and you like pull something, and you're like, dang, I can't do that split no more. Do you think you can climb like 5 flights of steps, and you try and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so out of shape. I cannot climb 5 flights of steps anymore. These are the things that I want you to consider. Were you able to run a mile in 15 minutes 4 or 6 months ago, and now all of a sudden you can't anymore? Is your pH off, ladies? Is your cycle off? Gentlemen, are you more tired than usual because you're working hard, not drinking enough water and staying hydrated? Are you taking care of your feet? For those of you that work and are constantly moving, constantly on your feet, have you gotten a feet treatment done? Have you soaked your feet? Have you given them a massage and love? Remember, the feet is where the soul is. Okay? So I suggest some reflexology. So things like that when it comes to physical, okay? And how well you know yourself in that way. The next category that we're going to look at, and this is category number 4, is spiritually. And spiritually is that's my thing. Like, y'all know, if you read my blog and if you follow along there, like, spirituality that's like my forte. So this 4th category here, what are your self-beliefs, or how do you know yourself, or how well is your relationship with spirit? Did you grow up in a household that was Catholic and now you're doing magic? Now you're a straight up witch. Or did you grow up in an atheist household, or where no one really prayed and nobody really talked about God? There was a Bible that was in the house, but nobody, Or did you grow up really devout? Did you grow up in a very strict religion. So, did you not grow up in a religion at all? What type of relationship have you developed with your spiritual body? And do you have a relationship with your spiritual body at all? I guess that would be a good starting point. And the last category is semi-related to spirituality, but it's also quite different. In this last category, some folks may not want to walk down that path, but it's inevitable because you're doing it every day, whether you like to or not. And that is category number 5 for magically. Magically, what is it that you are creating in your life? So for those of you who it leaves a nasty taste on the tip of your tongue when you hear the word magic, that's fine. So be it. But think of it as manifestingly. Creating. What are you creating? What are you manifesting? What are you bringing into your life? What, if you could manage or direct your own willpower to call forth or to remove or block something from your life, what would it be? And do you know how to do that effectively? Do you know how your magic works? Because those of us who do get down, sometimes, I know I struggled with this, we get caught up in thinking that magic is what the TV and movies and shows make it seem like, and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and Twitches, and Teen Witch, and That's So Raven, and all those, and The Craft, and all those shows and all those movies that we grew up watching, or that I grew up watching. If it was something about witchcraft, ever since I was a wee little lassie, I was on it. I was watching it. I grew up I grew up watching horror. You know, like some kids grow up and they watch movies that are only for kids. Like, I watched horror movies. I was one of them little kids that was watching Freddy Krueger. I had a crush on Freddy the Krueger. Okay? I even dressed up as him for one Halloween. All right, but as I digress, okay? What ways does your magic work so that you're not tripping and stumbling over trying to divine things into your life that just does not produce the way that you are intended to make it produce, okay? And one of the things that I do in my consultations is I help you assess how your magic works, all right? Okay, so we talked about self-belief, what it means, and how to understand what it means to you. We talked about the categories, the 5 categories: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, magical, that I want you to rate yourself. 1, the lowest; 5, the highest, on how well you think you know yourself in each one of those categories. And I want you to begin with all of that learning that you're going to do or that you're going to gain. I want you to begin to develop a personal purpose for yourself. So, you know how when you go on a company's website and they have their mission statement, or if you're applying to colleges, you have to write your statement of purpose, or, those fancy ways that these corporations do. This is a personal statement that you're going to make for yourself. And this personal purpose doesn't have to be something that is niched down. I think when it comes to like self-purpose and personal purpose, we all think that I'm here to do this one thing and only I can do it. And at least I've gotten like that. Like I've gotten like almost maniacal. Like I have to figure out why I'm here because I know I'm here to do something special. And it feels so big inside of me that I don't know how to express it. And I'm going to explode if I don't figure it out right now. It's like, all right. Calm down. Chill out. It ain't even that serious. Your purpose. I have magical revelation to save so many of you who have struggled with your purpose. And that is your purpose, is to discover your purpose. Your purpose is to live on purpose, to discover purpose in living. It's not a singular thing. It's not a singular focus. If you think you're here to make rhinestone leather cowboy boots with fur on the heels, that's not your purpose. That's the creative expression of your purpose of being. Your purpose is to every day waking up thirsting to find your purpose. So that way it constantly, like coal to a train's engine, feeds your furnace, your fire, your passion, your kama, to allow you to live dutifully to yourself, to others, and indirectly to the Most High, to the one single all. So I want you to consider what your personal purpose is. Each day, this week, when you wake up, ask for fun and safe adventures to come into your life to reveal to you why you came here to live on purpose. And don't look for concluded answers, because one thing about it is it's like a video game. Once you get to the end of it, those of you who play video games or any game, when you get to the end of it, it's over. And it's like, oh, okay, the fun is done. But that's not how life is. It ain't over till it's over. And when it is over, you'll know. Okay, you'll know. But if you find out your purpose tomorrow and you have another 60 years to live, 30 years to live, 10 years to live, 3 years to live, you're like, well, damn. Well, I'm all out of stuff to do. I guess I figured out my purpose. Oh, you figured out your purpose too? Hey, how's it been going? Oh, real boring, man. I wish I never figured it out because I don't have shit to do now. So your purpose again is to wake up every day and to practice how to discover a little bit of magic, a little bit of sparkle, and how to contribute a little bit of shine to each one of your days. And to change it up. Don't be so serious. And to become light of heart. I think of the Buddha, the baby Buddha, who's smiling right now in my mind's eye. To bring joy back into your life through an internal, divine, light way. So before we go, here are just some homework prompts I want to leave you with, okay? And this is just for you to do some journaling and to go into your shadow and your psyche, into your mental and emotional sphere, and to see how you can begin to develop in these areas. All right? So your first question, and we don't have a lot. I have here, let's see, 1, 2. I got about 3 questions here for you, okay? So your first question for your homework, no, you do not need to submit this. This is for your personal self-discovery. I want you to write out a list of things that you find so unique about yourself. Anything that you feel makes you uniquely you. All right? I guess one of the things I would write is, what makes me uniquely me is the fact that I say uniquely. Y-A-N. But so what makes you uniquely you, okay? And make that list as long as a leg. As long as a leg. And really consider, don't limit, don't hold back. If it's a mole that you have on your back of your right shoulder, then write that down. If it's a tattoo that you have on the inner part of your ankle that you see nobody else with, write that down. Write down all those things that make you uniquely you, okay? The next thing I want you to do is think about what makes you happy. And this sounds so stupid, I know. It's like, okay, and then what? But I want you to think about what makes you happy, and I want you to put it in the format of a bullet list. Because what's going to happen is, when you start to do shadow work, you'll have triggers of deep emotional resolve. And this starts to happen, especially for those of us who are age 27, because that's when we start to enter what is called a Saturn's return, where major life crises will start to happen in your life for things that need to be developed, or they need to be progressed, whether it's a relationship with a parent or a relationship with a child, or if it's usually it's relationships relating to family and close to loved ones, or health and etc. But nonetheless, what you're going to do is you're going to write out a bullet of things that make you happy. My dog makes me happy. Eating vanilla ice cream makes me happy. Watching X-Men trilogies makes me happy. Whatever it is, because what's going to happen is, when you have a moment of you're not feeling your best, maybe you had a bad day, or maybe you need a reminder of something that makes you smile, you're going to reflect to this happy list, and you're going to read all of the things that make you happy. And as simple and juvenile and silly as that may sound, what it is doing is quite grand on the alchemical scheme of things. Because what you are doing is you are activating the cosmic law of polarity. You are pulling your mental direction and attention to the opposite or polar sphere to allow your focus to go towards what you actually want to feel versus what you are feeling at the moment. So if you're feeling sadness and anxious at the moment, go to your happy list, because your happy list is going to bring you to a happy place, which is what a lot of therapists will say: find your happy place, find your happy spot, right? So this is going to be able to help you to clearly identify, clearly even visualize your happy spot. And then as you progress, you can pick one item on your list and just hyper-focus on that to be your happy spot. And eventually you can even incorporate this into a spiritual practice for yourself, where every day, each day, you are going to one of your happy spots, and it kind of sets the tone for your day. The last bullet of a question that I want you to, it's really more like a statement, is to begin research on yourself. And this is reflecting back to the bullets that you rated yourself on from 1 to 5 earlier. Your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and magical properties. I'm going to say properties or characteristics, categories about yourself. So wherever you feel that you have the weakest relationship, I want you to start to do some research. Or where you feel like you have the weakest understanding on what your self-beliefs are, I want you to start to do some research. Because in that research, you're going to begin to strengthen what values that you would like to have developed, reinforced, or established. And if you're 5 across the board, then maybe go back and look at what you think self-beliefs you have and see if they still apply. See if you would want to pass this down to your children or your grandchildren. And if you're adamant about that, let's scratch further and ask yourself, why? If you believe something firmly, why do you have this belief? And be able to define it just to yourself, not to validate it for no one else. Whew. All right, my lovelies. So I must say, this has been wonderful spending time with you. In conclusion, I do want to give you this little gem, okay? And I'm going to teach you how to unveil words and the true meaning here of what self-belief is. And we're going to do that by looking at belief. Because what self-belief really is, or what belief really is to be life and not to be a lie. Don't be the lie. Be life. Be life-giving, life-breathing, and live by your own law, but allow love to rule. Okay? So yes, this does conclude our episode today, and I hope to spend some time with you in the future. I am Priestess Ishtah, but my friends call me Tiffany, and this is Setting the Tone with Love Naturally.